After several years and several flops, it seems like Walt Disney Studios is finally ready to oust Bob Iger, the CEO who has mismanaged the company by appealing to identity politics.
Cause I've been living life right like I could just die any minute. Going for a ride down the
Hi everyone, my name is Jacob Airy. Welcome to the StudioJake vidcast where I talk about all things pop culture. Be sure to like, share, subscribe, and if you're watching on YouTube, ring that little bell so you get notifications when I post a new vidcast, and consider becoming a channel member. Alright, so it seems that Disney is finally ready to oust Bob Iger. So just a little bit of a backstory. Bob Iger took over as Disney CEO when Michael Eisner, who was CEO while I was a kid, after he resigned, Bob Iger came from ABC News and took over the company. He was instrumental in getting Lucasfilm and Marvel Studios and completing the deal with Pixar so that Disney could acquire these new brands. He was also instrumental in the 20th Century Fox acquisition. That was his whole thing, was Disney is out of ideas with its own branding, so we're going to go for other people's brands. But then he rejected the audience that came with those brands and also pandered to identity politics. He left briefly, though he maintained his Disney chairmanship, and they hired Bob Chapek, who was head of Disney Parks at the time, to take over. He was there for a couple of years, and Chapek's whole thing was, I just want to make money. The company needs to get back to basics, but because of how he handled issues with Florida and the rivalry with Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, he was quickly ousted. Bob Iger came back. He was only supposed to stay for 2 years, and he ended up staying for way longer. Well, now it seems that after several box office failures, after several loss in subscribers of Disney Plus and poorly received television adaptations of said acquisitions, Disney has had enough and they are currently looking for a new CEO. And one name in particular is standing out among the rest, and I think it's a bad idea, and I'll explain why in a minute. Okay, so this is according to piratesandprincesses.net. As Disney's CEO transition draws closer, the company is reportedly winding its search for a successor to Bob Iger, now considering top candidates outside the organizations. Here's what we know about the search and the surprising names under consideration. With Disney preparing for a leadership change, the company is now looking beyond internal candidates to ensure they select the ideal successor to Bob Iger. According to WDW News Today, the board has extended its search to include external executives, including Andrew Wilson, CEO of video game giant Electronic Arts, or EA. Wilson's experience in entertainment technology and his past connections with Disney make him a unique contender for the role. Initially, Disney's succession plan focused on internal executives known for their leadership and extensive experience within Disney. Top names included Dana Walden, co-chair of Disney Entertainment; Josh D'Amaro, chairman Disney Parks, Experience and Products; Alan Bergman, co-chair Disney Entertainment; and Jimmy Pitaro, chairman ESPN and Sports Content. These leaders have overseen significant Disney divisions from media and streaming to parks and sports content. However, Disney is now eyeing external leaders like Andrew Wilson, who brings a wealth of experience in digital media and gaming. Wilson's history with Disney includes interviewing for the ESPN chairman role in 2018, a position that ultimately went to Jimmy Pitaro. More recently, during Bob Chapek's tenure as CEO, Wilson engaged in discussions with Disney about a potential sale of EA to Disney. He has also been involved in talks regarding strategic partnerships for ESPN, including his keen interest in Disney's evolving media landscape. Andrew Wilson's extensive experience in gaming and digital entertainment aligns with Disney's strategic objectives. Under his leadership since 2013, EA has developed successful franchises and embraced transformation, positioning itself as leader in the gaming industry. Wilson's expertise could be instrumental in advancing Disney's gaming initiatives and integrating them with its broader entertainment portfolio. Disney's board, led by incoming chairman James Gorman, aims to complete its search by 2026, allowing ample time for a smooth transition. The expanded list of candidates reflects Disney's commitment to finding a leader equipped to navigate the future of entertainment. All right, so if you ask me, Disney is making a big mistake by hiring internally, but also by considering Andrew Wilson. Now, here's how I think that they should go about this. They do need to hire externally. I do agree with that. Internally, there was way too much bootlicking going on between the studio heads, between the division heads, and Bob Iger. Whoever comes from in the internal side of things is clearly going to just be a Bob Iger acolyte. There's no question about that. He or she will just continue on business as usual with identity politics, and we will just continue to make the Marvel Studios or the Marvel Cinematic Universe more convoluted in how it tells stories. Lucasfilms will continue to be under the thumb of Kathleen Kennedy, and Pixar will continue to be just another animated division of the company. If I was the Disney board, I would totally ignore all internal candidates. Now, if they were asking me, well, Jacob, what about external candidates? Andrew Wilson would be at the bottom of that list. If I was to make a list of 100 names of people I think should be CEO, he would be at the very bottom of that list because Andrew Wilson, like the article expresses, since 2013 he has made EA a good company. However, recently he has sort of betrayed his customers in the same way that Bob Iger, Kathleen Kennedy, Kevin Feige, and others have betrayed the customers as well. He is taking EA games to a place where he has said, I want access over ownership. So Wilson does not want his own customers to own their own games. He just wants to open up some World Wide Web thing, some game where it's only played online and you have access to it. You're paying for that access, but not for ownership of the game. Now, I'm not speaking for all gamers. I consider myself a casual gamer. I'm not even a serious gamer. But from people I do know who are serious gamers, they hate that. In fact, I believe it was Penguin Zero who called Andrew Wilson a snake in the grass. Like, and he's a hardcore gamer. He owns an esports team, or he did at one time. I don't know if he still owns it. All that to say, this guy is not popular anymore, and he can sit up from his lofty CEO position at EA Games, maybe eventually at Disney, and he is just going to ignore the wants, needs, and desires of the customers. He is just going to expand Disney Plus, and it's going to make it to a place where they're going to roll back DVD releases even more than they already have, just to get in there and give you access that you have to pay for, but not ownership. If they make a product, you should be allowed to own it and share it as you wish. And this goes for password sharing of your streaming services. You should be allowed to share those passwords with whoever you want because you paid for it and they owe it to you. You don't owe them anything. You don't owe them the benefit of the doubt. The only thing you owe them is if you want the product and you pay for it. With that being said, if I was Disney looking externally, where would I go? I think that they should go back, hands out to Nelson Peltz. He was trying to do a hostile takeover of Disney, or at least trying to put himself and a former Disney, I believe, CFO on the board. Now, Disney's not going to humble itself and do this despite their massive box office losses that they've had over the years. Yes, I know Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, Inside Out 2, and Deadpool and Wolverine were not by any stretch of the means box office failures, but one after the other, Disney has failed outside of those three examples in recent years. So they need to go back to Nelson Peltz. Not saying that they need to ask him to be the new CEO. He probably doesn't even want that. He owns his own company, but they need to go to him for a recommendation if they were smart, because what's happening right now at Disney, what's happening right now at Marvel isn't working. Now, if they were really, really smart, they would bring on George Lucas. And I know George Lucas, he's probably just wanting to retire. I think he lives in Chicago now with his new family. He just recently got remarried. So he's probably even not wanting to get involved, but he would be a good transition CEO. For one thing, he would get rid of Kathleen Kennedy. If they do want to go the more creative route, they could bring on someone who has experience in filmmaking. That would be smart. Someone who has, the skill set to know how it is to make a movie. Now, the problem with getting someone like, say, a Jon Favreau, right? He's made one of the few successful Disney Star Wars projects is he's going to want to stay creative. He's not just going to sit in the director's chair. So you really have to look for someone with that creative takeover. I'm available. I'd be happy to be the Disney CEO. I just don't think the egos in the room are going to let them go to Nelson Peltz or to a creative type because they still are holding on a little bit to those identity politics things. And it's really sad to see because Disney was once a great company. To summarize, this is basically what I'm saying. One, Disney doesn't need to look internally because that's all just a bunch of Bob Iger's henchmen. Bob Chapek tried to clean a bunch of them out, which is probably why he was also fired, not just the war with Florida, but who's to know? We can't possibly know that. But a lot of Bob Iger's henchmen are still around, and they're just going to keep going business as usual and continue to put Disney in the ground. Two, if they are going to look externally, then they shouldn't look to Andrew Wilson. He's a terrible choice. He is one of the instruments in changing games from something that the player owns to something they have access to, and that needs to stop. Three, they need to go to someone like Nelson Peltz or someone who is creative and just start fresh. Someone who really knows what they're doing and bring in someone from that side. Now, that is just my opinion. If you have any ideas on who should take over as Disney CEO, like if you have specific names, because I know I didn't give you a lot of specific names outside of just some examples or hypotheticals, but if you have any ideas, let me know in the comments section below. But until then, I think that Disney would be really foolish to do internally and bring on Andrew Wilson. They really need to look beyond that and try to bring in someone who's going to right the ship that once was the great Walt Disney Pictures. If you liked that video, be sure to give it a like, share it out to all your friends, leave me a comment and tell me what you think, and subscribe. If you're watching on YouTube, ring that little bell so you get notifications when I post a new vidcast, and consider becoming a channel member. If you want to support me in a different way, click on the link to my locals community. It's in the description of the video. You can sign up for a monthly subscription, or you can send me tips for articles that I post there, either from my website, StudioJakeMedia.com, or just for some of the exclusive that I post there that's just for my locals community. Another way you can help me out is to pick up one or all of my books. I've got Cacophony, a supernatural thriller, the Seven Royals series, which is a high fantasy series with your favorite fairy tale characters, and my latest fantasy novella, Blessed Child. You can pick up one or all of them. Leave me a 5-star review. It really helps out small indie creators like myself. Once again, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time right here on Studio Jake.
Cause I've been living life right like I